What is up, guys? Welcome to my review for Titan Season 1 Episode 9 titled Hank and Dawn. So with this episode being titled Hank and Dawn, it is obviously about Hank Hall and Dawn Granger, Hawk and Dove, and even though I did like the origin story for these characters and the development for the relationship, I do like the characters in general quite a lot. What I don't like about this episode is the fact that it's placed right like at the end, at the climax of the season. Like episode 8 ended with this huge cliffhanger that revealed that Starfire is on Earth to kill Raven, and Starfire just remembered everything that she used to know. And then the episode ended and led into this episode, which also this episode had another cliffhanger, but I didn't like how this episode was placed smack dab in the middle of episode 8 and 10, where those two episodes are completely connected, and episode 10 is going to resolve episode 8 cliffhanger, and they just put episode 9 right there in the middle. I think they should have put episode 9 maybe a little earlier in the season, maybe right after the Asylum, because the Asylum ended on a pretty good note where you didn't really need to watch the next episode to be resolved in the entire storyline. So they should have put episode 9 or Hank and Dawn right there, and then continue into the Donna Troy episode revealing everything about Starfire and Raven. So I don't like the placement of this episode, although the end of the episode kind of indicates that it had to be placed here, but I don't think they needed to do that anyway. So I don't like the placement of the episode like in the season in general. The actual episode, however, well, that's another story. So this episode was told mostly in flashbacks. There was something that big happened at the end in present day, and the flashbacks had something in the present day, like with Raven and whatever, but everything that was happening in the present day outside of that, not really much. But the flashbacks definitely were a big thing, because I mean they were the entire episode. So the episode began, or the flashbacks began, with Hank and his brother Donnie as a kid. First of all, I don't think it was ever explained how they are so different. Like obviously one of them is white, one of them is black. I don't think it was ever explained, like, well, maybe one of them is adopted, maybe one of them is or they are half siblings or something, or step siblings. I don't have a clue. Maybe they did explain it and I missed it, I don't know. Or maybe we're supposed to assume that one of them is adopted. I'm not sure, but I just really preferred if they had explained it, unless if I missed it, which then my mistake. But then the episode tackles some really dark topics pretty quickly in child molestation, and how Hank was actually a victim of that as a kid, which, I mean, this is incredibly dark. I don't think any superhero show has ever really tackled such a dark topic. Maybe something in the Marvel Netflix universe, but outside of that, I don't think so. And Titans is basically doing whatever they want in this season, and one of those things apparently is tackling this extremely dark topic in child molestation, which I honestly am very uncomfortable to talk about. I probably won't mention it much in this review, but I mean, I think that the whole storyline with Hank getting over that in this episode and becoming Hawk, probably because of it, I think that was handled pretty well. His origin story in general was pretty good. Also, it was pretty satisfying at the end where that coach was getting beaten up by Hank and Dawn. That was obviously a very, very satisfying moment. So this episode served as some sort of origin story for Hawk and Dove, although not really for Hawk and Dove, more for Hank and Dawn, which I'm guessing that was on purpose. That's why the episode is titled Hank and Dawn, because I mean Dawn didn't really become Dove in the episode. She took a step to become Dove. By the way, saying Dawn, Dove, Hank and Hawk, it's so annoying because those words are so similar. It's so confusing sometimes, like just to say it in a sentence. But anyway, Dawn didn't really become Dove much. She just a little bit. And Hank, although he was Hawk, he never really got the costume. Neither did Dawn, and it didn't really feel like either of them were superheroes. So I'm guessing the real purpose of this episode was to develop the relationship between Hawk and Dawn, even though we haven't seen them in like 7 episodes. And I do think that episode 2 did a pretty great job at developing that relationship, but this episode did it pretty well as well. I do like them together. I do think that the build up towards the relationship in this episode was pretty great. Not really much to add there, just that it was a pretty great developed relationship, and I do think they have a lot of chemistry. So something that was happening throughout the episode was Rachel was continuously popping up here and there in reflective surfaces and mirrors and stuff like that. I didn't really understand it. I thought that maybe whenever she showed up it was the present day, but that didn't make any sense either by the way the episode was cut. But it was revealed way at the end of the episode that it was Rachel actually putting herself in their dreams. So it turns out they were actually dreaming about the flashbacks, which yes, obviously they showed that in the episode, but they do that all the times where characters fall asleep and then it cuts to a flashback, but it turns out in this continuity they were actually dreaming about their flashbacks, but Rachel put herself in those dreams and for some reason did that to get Hawk and Dove to call for Jason Todd's help for probably to fight against Starfire, but I don't think that they can really help against Starfire because now Starfire is a fully experienced, probably experienced with her powers and everything. She could probably fly too at this point, so I don't really think Jason Todd, Hawk and Dove can do anything, but I mean, this is where the episode got really interesting, or maybe not interesting, it was a part of the episode where it got relevant to the season and what happened at the end of the last episode, and then the episode just ends. That always happens. Every single Titans episode, or most of them, end right when the episode starts to get really, really interesting. It happened in episode 8, it happened in episode 9, basically every episode. It's frustrating, and it definitely feels like the way they format it was supposed to probably be a thing that you would binge watch instead of waiting week to week, which I personally would prefer to wait week for week. It's way easier to review like that. Also, it's just way easier to get invested in the show like that, in my opinion. So I would prefer week to week, but I think that the format of the show, the way they really cut it, especially with the cliffhangers, it feels like it probably should have been binged, because whenever an episode ends right when it gets interesting, instead of making you really want to binge another episode, it's just really frustrating to wait another week. So even though I did actually like this ending a lot, it is very frustrating how the episodes end. So anyway, this episode was definitely very weirdly placed in the season. It's really frustrating when this isn't really bingeable. It's just week to week, which again I do prefer, but it just doesn't work the way they wanted it to work. But aside from all those technical complaints, there were some great things about the episode. Like there were some really, really dark topics they tackled, which I do think they tackled rather well. The relationship between Hawk and Dawn, or Hank and Dawn, it's so annoying, those names, but the relationship was developed pretty well as well, and the ending, even though it was really frustrating, definitely got me very interested in the next episode as well. Also, I'm very excited to see Jason Todd return, so I will give this episode an 8.6 out of 10, but let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.